Alright, let's just jump right into this. As you can see, I have a one eye done. I did one eye off camera just to speed things up a little bit. So I primed my eyelids with the concealer I'm going to use later on for my under eyes. And I'm using the NYX HD Concealer. The shade is going to be down below in the description box, as well as all the other products. But I'm using that, as I said, to prime my eyelids, to cancel out any redness, any veins, and to just give me a nice even base. And then I'm going to set that, because this is a creamy, liquidy product. I'm using a translucent powder to make sure that it doesn't crease throughout the day. The first eyeshadow palette that I'm using is this Milani one, and there are a lot of really pretty warm tone shades in here. I'm using the lightest orange shade and applying that in my crease as a transition color. As you can see, this palette is pretty pigmented. I'm applying it mainly on the outer corner, and then I blend it into my crease, slowly moving into the inner corner of my eye as well, but not putting it in there too much. Once we are done blending that in, we're going to deepen up the outer corner of our eye using the Carli Bybel palette, and these you can find them in Ulta stores and on Ulta's website as well. And I took the dark brown shade with a more dense blending brush to focus the product a little bit more in that one area. And then taking these two shimmer shades from the Carli Bybel palette, and I'm just using my finger to apply these to get the most pigment out of them. They're already pretty pigmented, but using your finger just kind of gives it a little bit more pigmentation. So I'm applying those two shades. I mixed them and put them on my eyelid. And then just to make sure everything is nice and blended, I went in with my blending brush and just made sure everything was blended, as I just mentioned. And to kind of tight line my lash line, I'm using this Rimmel Scandaleyes black eyeliner pencil. It doesn't make too much of a difference, but it just makes the lashes look a little bit fuller. And then as far as lashes go, we're using these Ardell Wispies. These are the Studio Effects, so they're a little bit more full than just the regular wispy lashes. And I like these ones because they're still, as I said, wispy, but they do add a little bit more glam since they are a little more full as well. And then just to make sure my natural lashes blend in with my falsies, I'm using the Maybelline Big Shot Mascara. Moving on to our base, I'm using the Rimmel Stay Matte Primer. I haven't used this primer in a while. I decided to take it out for this video since it is a drugstore video. It's a great drugstore primer for those of us who do have oily skin. And then the second primer I use is the NYX Angel Veil. I use that mainly on the outer perimeter of my face because I really like the finish that this primer gives. And then for foundations, I use the same brand and the same foundation, but I just mixed two different shades. I know one of them is Desert Beige or Desert Sand, something like that. And then I don't know what the name of the other one is, but as I said, it's going to be down below. I mixed those two shades. So I put the lighter shade in the center of the face, and I put the deeper shade on the outer parts, and then it's going to all blend together once I blend it out with my sponge. This foundation provides really nice coverage, and it does have a pretty matte finish, and it kind of like sticks onto the skin, and it also does not have any flashback, which is nice. That's why I wanted to use it for this video, because I know a lot of you are looking for a good drugstore foundation that's not going to give you flashback, and this one is perfect for not giving you flashback but still giving you a full coverage look. Once that's nice and blended, we're going to go ahead and apply our concealer. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm using the NYX HD Concealer. And to cream contour, I'm using this Wet n Wild contour stick. This is the second deepest shade, and I'm applying that directly onto my forehead. But when it comes to my cheeks, whenever I use this product, I like to use a brush to apply it around my cheeks, because if not, it kind of makes my foundation get a little bit patchy. At least that's what I realized on my skin. So I just go in with the brush and it works just fine. Once we are nice and bronzed, we're going to go ahead and set our under eyes. And I'm using my Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder. This is my favorite drugstore translucent powder. I've tried a few other ones, but I feel like this one just does the job for me. I have heard from a few people that this powder gives flashback. Again, I haven't noticed that when I use this powder, but I'm just throwing it out there just in case some of you guys do experience that. And then once we dust all of that translucent powder off, we're going to set the rest of our face using the Loreal True Match Powder. This powder has been a favorite of mine for a while. I hit pan on it a long time ago, and I've still been using it. It's really, really good. And then I use the same powder, but I use it in the shade W8, which is a deeper color. Actually, it's the shade C8, and it's a little bit more cool tone, but it adds a lot of bronziness to my skin, and I use that to also set the cream contour or bronzer we applied earlier. To highlight my face, I'm using this NYX Strobing palette, and in this part of the video, the lighting was just everywhere, so I had to kind of switch it up because there was like light in the middle of my face. That's why there was kind of like a shift in my background, but let's move on. So we're highlighting the face, as I mentioned, and this highlight palette's really pretty. You get a lot of different shades to choose from. I mainly like to use the bronzy shades because on my skin tone, they still somewhat appear to be pretty light. So I apply that on the highest points of the cheekbones, tip of the nose, and the Cupid's bow. For blush, I'm using this blush from Circa. This blush is so pigmented. I was not expecting it to be this pigmented. I've used it before, but I think I used like a really light hand. And this time I went a little heavy with it. So I had to go on top with my powder brush just to kind of calm it down. And that's pretty much it for our base. And then from there, we're moving on to our lip color. And I used the NYX Liquid Suede in the color Sandstorm. And then I moved back up to the eyes. I used the same Rimmel Scandaleyes pencil to smoke out my lower lash line. I put it on the outer part of my lower lash line, and then I just smudged it out with like a smudging brush. And then applying the same mascara, the Big Shot from Maybelline, just applying it on the lower lash line. And then popping a little bit of the highlight from the NYX Cosmetics Strobing palette in the inner corner of my eyes. Of course, we got to set the face. I'm using my LA Girl Pro Setting Spray, and that completes the look.